But then I guess moving on, I kind of mentioned it a little bit earlier, but you are a filmmaker from Romania. I think most well known for at this point your found footage horror movie Be My Cat, a film for Anne, which, as I said, is a really interesting and unique found footage horror movie, one that I very much enjoy. I don't even
Thank
remember
you.
how I came across it. I think I just found it. I was going through YouTube one day, and I think the trailer just popped up, and I was like, oh man, I need to find out how can I watch this movie any way that I can, and I finally saw it, and I was blown away. It was a very interesting character study, very tense and suspenseful and horrific in all the best ways that you want a found footage horror movie to be. And the one thing I do have to say I really appreciate about it is I think that a lot of found footage movies today kind of fall into that trope of we're going to make things very quiet, and we're going to, like, nothing's going to be happening, and we're going to get you on the edge of your seat, and then we'll just do a big jump scare and everyone will scream, and there's no substance to it. But I think that one thing that you achieved in that movie very well is that you didn't rely on jump scares very much at all. I mean, there's definitely moments that make you jump, but the film very beautifully weaves suspense and constantly wondering, like, what is going through this character's head, and how are these women going to deal with what's going on. And it's just a fantastic movie. Anyone listening who hasn't seen it should go out and watch it. But one thing that just a couple questions I wanted to ask about that movie was, how did you get the idea to make that?
Well, thank you so much first for the and I'm so happy you liked it, and thank you so much for the appreciation and recommending it to people.
Of course.
So I did in college. I did at some point. We did a show which was called Spitalul de Noapte in Romanian, Night Hospital would be the translation, in which all of us in the class, in the acting class, we had we had a monologue, and we were playing people that are locked in a mental hospital, and they had all types of horrible background stories, the things that they did in order to be locked there, And they appeared one by one in front of the committee, and they were retelling those stories, trying to convince the committee to set them free, that they are healed.
I think that your segment of that show is on your YouTube channel now, correct?
It's more than that. It's actually, I will tell you. I will reach that point as well.
Okay.
So practically, yeah. So practically, they were telling the things they did to the committee in the hopes of being released, but actually the things that they were saying, they were horrible things, and practically that was a type of dark comedy. There was a type of dark comedy or horror comedy in that, there was a colleague of mine who recommended me this monologue he found on the internet about a guy who had some problems with his sister's cat or something like that, has some problems with cats, and then kidnaps a girl. I forgot exactly the details of that original monologue. And then after I played that thing in that show, I expanded that monologue that I had to a one-man show after I finished college, practically during my master's. I extended it to a one-man show called The Monster, and that is the fragment on YouTube that you found. Actually, it's a fragment from my one-man show.
Okay.
And I expanded it based on, it was practically a combination of some ideas in the original monologue. There were also some ideas from Jonathan Coetz's movie Tarnation, and also my original ideas in that one-man show. And because of that, one-man show was successful, not financially successful, because I was like playing it to a couple of audiences. You know how, maybe don't know how indie theater happens. Just playing cafes and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But it was a success in terms of, it went to a couple of film festivals. A couple of theater festivals in Romania, and at some point I went to one of them, and people were literally in tears, applauding and laughing and in tears at the same time at the end of the show. And that's when I realized, oh my God, like I really have the potential to do something great, but just by myself, both as an actor, producer, director, writer, everything. I can do something that can both move people and make people laugh and make people appreciate and overall, give all types of emotions.
Right.
And then I kind of remembered about my huge passion for film, because in Romania we have this problem, with the acting schools. They don't talk about film anymore at all. When you go to the acting school, everything's about theater. So it's a kind of a little bit of a unintentional brainwashing. So when you finish the acting school, you only think theater, And at some point I realized, just a second, I'm not really a theater person. Always my dream was film. My huge passion was film. Like all my teenager period was spent reading about movies. I need to make a movie. I need to leave theater behind. And I need also because okay, if I could do that, if I could create that effect for some people in an indie theater for 10, 20, 30 people, I don't know, then isn't it better to spread this, to give this experience to more people around the world, through film, through the art of film, because theater is limited by how many people you can touch, with your art. Film doesn't have that limit. So this made me start the project with Be My Cat, actually. What I took from that show is not the story, but I took the psychology of my character. So I can say that kind of Be My Cat is influenced, and my role in Be My Cat has a lot of the psychology of my character in that show. And I took also this cat thing, that he had, his problem with cats that he had. And of course, then I had to think, okay, in my one-man show, the guy was kidnapping an actress at some point, and I thought, okay, and I used to pronounce on stage the name of a real Romanian actress, and I thought, okay, it's good to use this concept, and that's how I came up with Anne Hathaway, because I thought, okay, so it has to be an actress that is worldwide known, that everybody will be able to empathize and understand and know who she is, and also something that has to do with cats, and it was kind of a coincidence that I heard about The Dark Knight Rises with Anne Hathaway and her playing Catwoman in that film, and at the same time it was Les Miserables released, and I was extremely impressed by her performance in Les Miserables, So practically I could use my fascination with her performance in Les Miserables for the obsession and the fascination that my character has with her for The Dark Knight Rises. Because The Dark Knight Rises her performance was a good performance. It was not like something that like blew my mind away, like that happened with but I could use that psychology. I could make that analogy in order to use for my character. So that's how kind of Be My Cat was born.
It's a very interesting story. It's kind of just like a lot of taking sort of little moments throughout of like your own life experiences and kind of like warping them and I guess exponentially expanding on them to make this twisted and interesting character.
Exactly. Yeah. There is a scene actually that is actually that I did not include in the movie. There are other scenes that I also took from the one-man show, which are probably even more inspired from real events, but I did not include in the movie. I think I will put one of them. I think I will put in the when I release the Blu-ray as an extra scene.
So anyone listening who is already a fan of the movie, definitely be on the watch for that Blu-ray so you can see the exclusive content that didn't make the cut.
Or my Patreon. If you don't want to buy the Blu-ray, just contribute $1 on my Patreon and you will get that exclusive content.
There you go. That's how you the easiest way to support the artist making even more art. I guess so. You get this idea to make this found footage horror movie, and through all these different life experiences, you sort of form the basis of what you want the film to be. So how do you go about actually making the movie once you get the idea? And I guess that on even a broader scale, what is filmmaking in Romania like? Because I mean, you kind of answered it earlier a little bit, where there's this big focus on theater and not as much of a a focus on film. So what were some of the, I guess, the challenges or the obstacles you had to overcome in the making of the movie?
Well, the filmmaking in Romania, I don't know how filmmaking in Romania. Filmmaking in Romania is like so much state-sponsored. There is this this thing that gives grants, and there's a competition. But you need to have a film company, you need to have a name, you need to have participation in festivals, you need to have all kinds of complicated things. I don't know how to make films this way. To me, making a film is taking a camera, what companies and I don't know, trying to convince, and I don't know how to make films this way. It's so hard. So I don't know how other people are making films. I mean, I'm totally detached from the filmmaking. I can say this, from the official filmmaking community here in this country, and also from the subjects that are being talked about in Romanian films, because what the movies that were successful in Cannes, in other top festivals, were the ones talking about the communist period. Everything is great, everything is ugly, suffering, scarcity, because that's what is successful in the West. Showing. Right. Poor people in the East. It's a type of exploitation of, in a way, of this right. situation. So actually, a critic even said at some point, said that my movie kind of, just by making this movie, kind of like it's like disregarding all the other cinematography, that all the other movies that were made in Romania, which still made a point, still had success and stuff. So somebody literally took my movie as going so far away from everything that has been done in Romania, took it as a type of rebellion against the filmmaking system right. in Romania, and I found it interesting. And maybe it is actually, to a certain point.
Definitely, yeah. It sounds like a breath of fresh air for sure.
Hopefully. Yeah. So how I did it, I had no idea how to make a movie. So practically all I used was all the movies that I watched, and then I started learning everything while I was making it. Everything on this project was learning while making. I had no idea how to edit a film, had no idea how to finance a film. So simply just started with creating. And first, I knew I needed money. Okay. So everything started with creating a campaign, and on Indiegogo crowdfunding campaign. I created 3 of them, because first was not very successful, and then I advanced a little bit more with the production, and I had more things to show, and I made another one. So I made a little money in the end, and then some of the people who donated in the campaign also said, "Hey, I want to help you more, and with something, So that's how I. Either they say that I want to help more, or I put an announcement on some Facebook groups, now I remember, and I asked people to invest in my movie, Right. So we just made these understanding, these agreements, because these investment agreements, and that's how I got the money to make the film. And just bought the camera, and I put a casting announcement, and I found the actors. I explained to them how I will work, that there is no script, that everything is based on improvisation, that everything is based on acting. We communicated months in advance via email. I gave them a lot of instructions, mainly in order to build their character psychologically. So then when I first met the actors, we met directly in character. So the first shots you see in the movie of me in character meeting the actresses, those were the first time when I actually met the actresses in real life.
I was actually going to ask about that. That's really impressive.
Yeah, because I wanted as much realism as possible, because I knew since I don't have a big budget, since I don't have, the power of the film industry, I need to compensate with something. And the only thing that I can compensate is with what I know the best how to do it, which is this type of realism. Because the type of school that I studied as an actor. I studied as an actor a method called invented by a Romanian teacher of acting called Ion Cojar, and he was also a theater director, and he had this philosophy, both for a theater show and for acting. For acting, he has this philosophy that actors don't need to fake, they don't need to act, they need to actually go through some process which is actually real for them, because that's the only way the audiences will empathize with them. And it must be a process that is not known in advance, you know, because if you, in real life, you don't know what will happen in an hour or 2 or 3. Everything surprises you, and that gives natural reaction. So he said, same thing needs to happen with an actor. If you already know how your acting moment will be in advance and you plan it and direct it, it will not be natural. Everything needs to be a natural process, just like in real life. And that gave me thoughts, okay, the only way to achieve this is to not have a script, literally, because then if you have the script, everything is known in advance, you already know what will happen, then your reactions won't be natural no matter how good of an actor you are. And I don't have the power of stars and whatever in order to compensate for that.
Right.
So that was on the acting part, and also on the directing part, that teacher also had a wonderful philosophy. He said, like, in order for the people, for the audiences to empathize with the theater show, they need to not see any element whatsoever that show is a show. They need to that show needs to look just like real life. The moment they see something that reminds them that is just a show, that will take them out of the experience. And then when I studied this, then afterwards I made the collection just a second. But years ago, when I was in high school, I saw that movie Blair Witch, and that was kind of like that. I mean, they tried to make a film that doesn't look like a film, you know, that looks like it's the real deal, you know.
Exactly.
So that's when I made the connection between my teacher's philosophy in both theater and acting and the found footage concept. And I found my thing, like, oh my God, this is my thing. This is what I have to do. I wrote the found footage manifesto, you know, in order to really put my philosophy on paper and practically, and then I started using it.
That's very inspiring. And I definitely agree with what you said there about you have to sort of take advantage of the resources you have available to you. I think the filmmaker Robert Rodriguez, I don't remember the exact quote, but he had said something like, studios may have the money and the financial support backing them, but the one advantage that independent filmmakers always have is that the studios will never be capable with all of their money and all their resources to make something as interesting as what one individual with a camera in their backyard can do. So I think that it's definitely, you've hit the nail right on the head with how you summarize
and
that.
I was inspired. I can say it's true, and I was inspired. I can see in my courage to do something, I was a lot inspired by I think by this American spirit, in the spirit of filmmaking, you know. I don't know, probably I read about it, or I watched movies, or I watched some documentary. No, this idea of just a regular guy with a camera taking it, and all of a sudden dreaming of doing something great, you know. Because in Romania, and in a way, I'm glad that I didn't study film in Romania, because from what I've learned, and I took some classes from this film school, you know, they kind of scare you, you know. They tell you, like, oh, you can't make a feature unless you've made shorts before. You can't make that without money. You can't. There are a lot of conditions. There are a lot of conditions put in front of you becoming a filmmaker. You can't do unless that. You can't do unless that. And then when you look at all this huge list, you are like becoming discouraged. You know, you feel like I'm not going to do it. That's scary for me. You know, that's the same thing. I wouldn't advise people. I wouldn't put in my film festival list. I have a list that I research a lot. Top 100 film festivals and top 100 horror film festivals. And I also put submission advices, how filmmakers should submit movies to festivals. And I also put an advice about how, from the start, what is the mentality I think you need to have as a filmmaker to start. Do not check literally unless they help you, unless you feel like they help you, check them. I'm talking about this how-to all these advices, what you need to do in order to make a film, and everybody will give their advices. You need to have this, you need to have that. I'm saying the opposite. You don't need to have a script. You don't know how to use you don't have to know how to use the camera. You don't need to have celebrities. You don't need to have actors. I would say everything that all those advices say, I would say the opposite. I think you need to free yourself of all these preconceived ideas of what filmmaking is in order to really put your idea into practice, because all those things unless those things help you. If they help you, good, but if they scare you, don't listen to them. Because for example, me personally, I didn't listen to anything. I just knew I had to do this, and I just found my own ways to do this. Exactly, find your own ways. And everything else is just...
Exactly, yeah. I think that's definitely the true spirit of filmmaking, is just having that singular idea or that one motivation that I want to go out and make something unique, and whatever happens, but this is what my end goal is, and I know that I'm going to get there. And I think that it's definitely this story of you going out and making this movie is definitely a quintessential example of that sort of mentality and that work ethic to just go out and make a movie.
Yeah, and then hopefully, I don't know, at some point I felt like maybe I can help people, not by telling them how to do a film, but just writing an article and just letting them know that I did a film without knowing how to do one. And actually, the secret to make one is to not know how to make one.
Right, just go out and do it. Everything, the chips the chips will fall where they may.
Yeah, and take risks, assume the risk. As you need to assume risks, along the way, like assuming the risk to. It needs to be, how should I say, that's part of creativity. Like, don't expect it to be perfect and stuff like that. Don't expect it to be exactly the way you want it. Because I heard also these creative worries from some people that would love to start into filmmaking or something like that. They have these creative worries, that what if they won't be able to exactly put out their vision and stuff like that.
Right.
I think that also hinders. I think you need to be open to throw yourself into this unknown, without knowing exactly, what type of film you want to make in general. But I think wanting to reach exactly those details that you want, I think that's also a problem. Mm-hmm. I think you should throw yourself a little bit and see what happens in the end. At least that's what happened with my film, because I didn't know exactly how the film was going to look. I think that's why I believe a lot in working without a script on films, because you just assume the characters, and then you just set the characters free, like the actors. They just assume their roles. A lot of psychological. I lived in character for a couple of years. And then you just set these people free, not free, between brackets free. You give certain rules and you give certain goals. And it's a controlled improvisation, but they still have the freedom to act like human beings within that context. They don't have to think of, what is my next line, because people in real life, they don't think what is their next line or whatever.
Exactly, yeah.
They have the freedom to follow their character's goal. For example, my goal was while shooting, was to actually, for real, convince Anne Hathaway to come in Romania and make a movie, within the psychology of my character. So those things that I'm saying while I'm recording, they are not things that I thought of in advance. Maybe some of them, but a lot of them just came naturally in the moment, because I was actually trying to do that, Right. I was actually trying to convince her. And then you have this huge number of, then you have this huge amount of footage, you have tens of hours of footage from all the improv you did, and then you look at all the footage as a documentary filmmaker. You look at all the footage like a documentary filmmaker that shot real life events, and then he thinks at the end, how to make this into a document, into a good story, and practically you build your story. Of course, from the start, you kind of knew the general story. You didn't have the details. So at the end, during the editing phase, you start building the details, You start thinking, so this is a person. This is, I can put this and this together. I can put, this works so well. This is really a good story, You practically use some some pieces of reality. The first job, I think, for a director working in improvisation is to create reality, to create moments that are real. You know, and it doesn't matter about the details and the artistic vision that much. It's important to have moments that are real, first of all, and then at the end, during the editing phase, you look at everything you shot and you take bits and pieces from that reality that you created. And then by organizing them and by editing and by playing with them, then you create your vision. And you have the freedom to still create your vision in the end during the editing phase. So practically the editor becomes the writer of the film,
exactly.
Just like kind of in documentary films.
I think that's why editing is my personal favorite aspect of production, is because that's kind of, for me, a lot of people will say when you're actually working with the actors and you're seeing your ideas communicated into real life, that becomes the most fulfilling for a lot of directors. But for me anyway, I very much enjoy the editing aspect, because that's literally where you can see this like abstract concept you had in your head of what you wanted your movie to be like coming to life as people will see it. I think it's the most rewarding aspect of the entire production.
My only problem is that I hate the actual physical part of editing. I
right.
find it like I like when I edited Be My Cat, like I stayed for months literally inside. I couldn't sleep, you know, 'cause every day because I was so much like so exact, you know. The thing that Kubrick had with, and probably that's why I empathize with him, this perfectionism that he has when shooting. I'm the opposite. When shooting, I think you need to renounce every type of perfectionism, because then the actors are not free to be lively. And then you need to give them full freedom, because otherwise you don't have lively moments. But then my perfectionism enters the scene at the end when I edit. Like literally, I'm putting like one extra frame to a thing, and then I'm thinking half an hour if I did it right, if I should remove it. Oh, I should remove it, I should put it back, I should remove it, I should put it back. Literally like months and months and months. I went into a it was horrible, that period. Like literally right now I have to edit this movie. For Be My Cat I had 25 hours of footage. For this one I have 90 hours of footage. So I literally have to edit it. And literally I started a little bit, but I'm literally afraid. I'm already into anxiety already thinking about it. But I have to do it. Like unless other, you know, so many films they say like, oh, it's good to work with it's good to for the directors. There's this advice in the film industry. It's good for directors to not edit their own movies, because they cannot be objective. You know, they fall in love with the things they shot, and they think it's better than it actually is. So it's good to have an external director. For me, that's not the case. Like, not because I'm also writing. You know, since not having a script, I'm also writing my film.
Right.
While editing, so that's not an option to have an external editor. So I need to do it myself, everything.
Yeah, no, I definitely, I'm the same way. Where I forget who said it, but the analogy that I always like to draw is, if you went to if one day you decide I'm gonna go make a chocolate cake, and then you go to the store and you buy the ingredients, and you come home and you like put everything in the mixing bowl and you make the batter and you pour it into the pan, you wouldn't go over to your neighbor's house and say, here, put this in your oven so I can finish this. Like, I think that like if you're going to be a director, you should have, maybe you're not the most talented editor, or maybe you're not the most talented writer, but I think if you're going to be a director, you should be able to have your hand in all three of those areas, because it's how that story gets told. And I think that it is important for the director to have at least some extent of control over each step of that process.
Yeah, and I would agree though that when you are editing your own film, you need to be the only advice, the kind of external advice about that I would give to other people, you know, like keep your film as short as possible. Like festivals, audiences, critics, everybody, they are crazy as hell about length of, especially genre films. Mm-hmm. If a genre film goes above 100 minutes, they go crazy. Festivals don't select it. I don't know, people get bored. There's such a thing in the industry lately, probably because the world becomes so much like everything is about time. You know, we are bombarded with so much info info from all the directions, and people have less and less time, and that's why the length of films become so important. For example, my film, Be My Cat, first film, initially it had 109 minutes, I think, 109 minutes, and I sent it to some festivals, and a top festival, a very big festival, rejected it, and one of the main reasons, I think, South by Southwest, that was South by Southwest, yes, and rejected it, and then they gave feedback. One of the main reasons was that it was too long. So they said, like, you need to, and then I brought it down to 87 minutes. Unfortunately, I lost the opportunity to go to South by Southwest because in the meantime it got selected in the original version to another festival. So I lost the world premiere opportunity in a big festival. So that would be my only thing. Like, in the final phase, when you edit your own film, like, you need to be merciless with the scenes you shot. Like, literally, you don't have to choose the best of your best scenes, in order to make the movie. No, you need to choose the best of the best of the best of your best scene. Literally, like, leave there only what you have, literally the best that you could ever do from everything you shot,
Exactly.
Don't leave there things that are still good and you think like they will still, no, don't leave them there. You just keep it, even if the film ends up having like 70 minutes or so, that's still, that is especially true for genre films or for found footage films. That would be my only advice. And
then I guess the last two questions I wanted to ask about Be My Cat before we move on was you had said that there was no script, there was no like traditional script of what the story would be and what the dialogue would be. So I was just curious how much of it was actually like decided beforehand and how much was improvised. Like, did you even know what the ending was going to be before you made it, or was that another thing you decided as you went along?
Yeah, from what I remember, because I don't remember everything, just there was no script or anything. Okay, I think I have if I had the time, I could actually do a research and check back the emails and everything and see exactly what was known and what not known. But just from my memories, I think it was definitely decided that they are going to be three girls. They are definitely decided the differences because I did the audition as well. Their typologies, it was. I need to talk without giving spoilers, right?
You can if you like, yeah. Yeah, if you want, we could say we could just say spoiler warning, and anyone who hasn't seen the movie should go out and watch it now, and then come back and listen to the rest of this.
No, let's not. I will try to talk without giving spoilers.
Okay.
Actually. Okay, I will talk in general. So, what happens with the girls in the movie? It was decided. And the order was decided. Just the details, the dialogue, and the way it happens was not fully decided. That was decided on the spot. So practically, I had points for this script. I had points, the narrative points that I had to check. And this narrative point has been checked. This has been checked. This has been checked.
So it was more of a bullet list than a script.
What?
So it was more of like a bullet point list of the script. Like,
exactly,
we'll start here, we'll go here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I had those narrative points, but I didn't know how exactly the details of the way they will happen. And some of those details were chosen while shooting, but not necessarily while improvising. Some of them were choice during the breaks. I just sitting in my bed thinking, okay, where are we going to shoot tomorrow? Okay, let's shoot there at that somewhere. And some others were actually decided while improvising. Like in character, depending on how our characters, how we felt while being in character, literally. Like those were, and I think a lot of the details were actually decided this way. The majority of the details were pure improvisation in character. For example, and some were like extremely unexpected, like. I'm not sure if maybe you read the trivia for Be My Cat. there is the that thing with Sonia when she calls the police. All of the actions. That's a very interesting because practically I gave her the instructions were like this, because I was kind of playing this director, this psychopathic director, and she was playing an actress, Mm-hmm. So practically I told Sonia, hey, like when you are playing this actress, you need to respect kind of the indication. No, just a second, because it's complicated. I got confused by my own meta movie within movie stretch. I forgot. Okay. Let's not complicate things. Let's just tell you in general. So practically, I told her, you need to respect that what my character will say to your character. Mm-hmm. You need to respect the indications that my character will give to your character. And then while improvising, when my character told her, you need to reject me, there is that scene in the movie,
right?
Because they were also shooting scenes, okay? So my character in the movie said to her, you need to reject me, in the other character that they were playing in those scenes. So it's so hard. I think probably it's too complicated for somebody without watching the movie to understanding what I'm saying, but I will still say it. Okay, you understand it, right?
Yes, of course.
Yeah. So when I said to her, hey, when my character will tell you, you need to reject him, you need to actually do things to reject me for real. And I don't want to know what those things will be, So actually, she called the police for real. And then that scene is actually the police coming, or her calling not the emergency number, the way you have 911, we have 112 in Europe. So you can.
And it's a good way to add production value to your movie to have the actual police show up for. For a quick scene.
It was a good thing. It was stressful. It was stressful at that point, because I was a bit afraid, because afterwards, for example, there is another scene when I felt like the screamings in one scene, I thought they should have been more intense, more realistic or whatever, but I was kind of a little bit afraid because of this police coming, what if again somebody complains or something like that, then police come the second time, and I thought, okay, when they come the second time, they will give us a huge fine and we don't have those money. So yeah.
Well, I mean, I just purely from an audience member's perspective, I can tell you that the screams were definitely very unnerving and natural. So I could completely see why someone might be like, oh man, what's happening in that house across the street? But
and there were, by the way, there was a moment. This is something that I never shared, and actually, I'm not going to give the identity of the actress because I don't want to.
Okay.
So practically because I shared online during the production some of the scenes, and because I wanted to give this sense of reality and fear, and
mm-hmm.
That what's happening is real. I shared online some of the pictures, not footage, just pictures, just images on my Facebook while I was doing the movie. The father of one of the actresses got really worried, and he came while we were shooting the movie. Yes, he came, and he stayed in that tension, while we were shooting. And he told me literally, I don't know how you are doing, but today you are finishing shooting with my daughter, and that's it. And that changed, and that literally changed my script. And just know this, like the ending of one of the scenes with one of the actresses were literally forced to happen this way because the father was there waiting in the other room, and I had to quickly improvise something.
That's amazing.
Because I got very very upset by what happened back then. But now I'm looking and I'm laughing. Back and actually looking at the way I shot that scene and everything, the sense of urgency that was upon me actually I think it most probably it actually pushed me to do a more creative probably ending than the one I was actually planning.
Right.
Possibly.
And actually, yeah, speaking of the ending, one of the last things I wanted to touch on was I'm not sure if you're familiar with him, but one of my favorite filmmakers of all time is John Carpenter. He made the 1982 movie The Thing, which is my favorite scary movie ever. He did Halloween with Michael Myers, Escape from New York, Big Trouble in Little China, They Live, a whole bunch of fantastic horror movies. But The Thing is hands down my favorite, and that movie, without spoiling it, has a very, very ambiguous ending.
Which movie? Sorry, which movie? Which of his movies?
The Thing.
The Thing, okay.
Have you seen it?
Yeah, I've seen The Thing, yeah.
Oh, okay, so then, yeah, you know, the very ambiguous ending, and it's kind of debated as to what happened, but I actually got the chance to meet him at a convention this past summer, and I said to him, I said, the ending of that movie is so ambiguous, do you even know what happened? And he laughed and he said, I do know, and I'm not going to tell you. And then he sent me on my way. So that was one thing that I wanted to ask you, is that I won't ask you to give away what it is, but is there a definitive fate for those two characters, and do you know what it is?
Those two characters, you mean the second girls, right?
Yeah, well, your character and the actress.
For the first two girls, like, yeah, it's obvious, I think, right?
Well, yeah, no, yeah, the first two girls. I mean, at the very end of the movie with you and the other actress.
For my character, well, the ending. Should I send you your way? Like, no, okay.
If you want to, there's no shame.
Yeah, no. Here's the thing. The movie that I'm working right now, We Put the World to Sleep. I have very good news for you about that.
Okay.
So the movie that I'm working on, We Put the World to Sleep, will be part of a trilogy, which will also include Be My Cat. So Be My Cat, We Put the World to Sleep, and my third movie, which will be called Dr. Frankenstein, all of them will have intertwined characters and narratives. So practically, this is a trilogy of movies that have partial bits and pieces of connected stories.
Interesting.
So
we may or may not get that answer when we see.
You will.
Oh, we will.
You will, but I'm not sure. You will, but I'm not sure if you will. That will happen in We Put the World to Sleep, or that will happen in Dr. Frankenstein. Not sure yet, and it's good if I'm not sure.
Yes, I definitely have. Given this your style of making things, I think that's very good that you don't quite know what'll happen yet. So anyone who's seen Be My Cat and is also wondering about the ending of the movie, be sure to keep an eye out for We Put the World to Sleep and Dr. Frankenstein to possibly get answers. Yeah. And then the last question.
They will.
Sorry, go ahead.
And they will go and I don't know. Expect to be disappointed, actually.
Oh, no.
No. I want to say to people that like Be My Cat, because as I said before, I mean, expect to be disappointed, because don't have expectations. Expect your expectations being not met. That's a very good thing.
I'd agree with that. Yeah, that's a good way to word that.
I'm a person that, like, I've seen some people in the past and how they react, when they have a favorite director doing a certain type of film, and then they go and do something so different, and everybody reacts with anger, like, why didn't you do the movie that we all loved? Why did you do something like that,
Right. And
right. I don't know. I think I might have been done something like that with We Put the World.
Well, I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
Yes, but if that happens, if you feel, or other people listening and they like Be My Cat, and they feel like, oh my God, what the fuck is this? Sorry for
no, it's okay. You can use whatever language you want.
Okay, and just know that actually that reaction you have is actually something that I might have thought, actually, because I'm a person that likes to always challenge expectations, challenge viewers, and challenge the world. That's why I did Be My Cat, and We Put the World to Sleep will push limits. Like I took enormous creative risks with We Put the World to Sleep. Like, I mean, you don't even know.
So then I get
like the meta structure also is like. The meta structure, which is like movie within movie structure, that one also goes to extremes. I don't want to talk to you about which extremes. But okay, what I can tell you is that at some point when I started to edit the film, I also got confused about which is which, literally, what I shot myself.
Oh, no. Interesting.
Yeah.
So then, I guess the last question I had about Be My Cat was, has Anne Hathaway seen the movie?
Good question. Interesting. Actually, a lot of people ask this question. I'm like saying like interesting because I'm also wondering this. That's what I'm. I don't know. I literally don't know. The thing is this. At some point, while making Be My Cat, I also tagged Anne Hathaway. The distributor of Be My Cat also tagged Anne Hathaway when they shared things about the movie. The Be My Cat is mentioned on her Wikipedia page as well. At some point, I messaged Anne Hathaway's team and manager asking if I can use her name in the movie. I didn't get a response back. There was another situation like. I will tell you on very, very, very shortly about that thing. We've been scammed for a couple of years, from 2016 to 2019. We've been scammed by me and my wife, by a fake producer to work on a fake project, And that guy said that he's working for a production company, which was also Anne Hathaway's manager involved,
Okay.
So that guy used fake credentials. Used fake signatures on contracts, like a very extensive scam, like multiple filmmakers involved. He even went to an Italian guy, like Andrea Corbella, his name is, on talk about this to expose him. I also exposed him in an article. Like he scammed multiple filmmakers around the world. Like he even went to Cannes and to festivals in Brazil. He was invited as a representative of the Hollywood company Entertainment 360, which is like run by, among others, by Anne Hathaway's manager. So this guy was doing all these things around the world, and we also, me and my wife, ended up his victims. And when everything fell apart, I actually called when I saw that we are not receiving our money for all the work that we did, all the script writing, all the preparation and everything, when we saw that we are not getting our money and anything, we called the actual office, like Entertainment 360 in Hollywood, and they said, we never heard about Andrea Corbella, about this guy. So practically when I called that office, that was the assistant of Anne Hathaway's manager. So we were shortly in discussions with them. They also hired an investigation, some private detective to check this guy. So indirectly, the team around Anne Hathaway learned about me because of this story and all the other things, learned about me and this movie including. But if this led to actually Anne Hathaway hearing about it, I literally don't know.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. And also considering, I'm not sure how much she's into internet, also considering that she was like, remember when it was the Had haters, that period, there was a wave after she won the Oscar for Les Miserables, there was a wave of haters, of Anne Hathaway haters. It was they were called Had haters. And she was not aware of this, Later, a friend of her told her, like, hey, like, do you know, like, the internet is full of people expressing hate for you, and she was extremely disappointed and extremely upset of that. Of course, everybody would be to learn that people hate you for no reason, literally. And also, I think that is a sign that she's not a person reading about herself online or checking things about herself,
Right.
So she might have not. I literally don't know.
Well, maybe one day we can get her official review. We'll see what happens down the line.
Official, yeah. I tried. Like, I think I contacted either her or her team or something, asking like, hey, like, this is an indie filmmaker making efforts here. Do you think I can have some Anne Hathaway maybe saying something about my movie? It doesn't matter what. Yes. I didn't receive any response, of course. Yeah.
Well, fingers crossed that hopefully one day you do. So we kind of talked about it a little bit, but I guess really quickly let's talk about some of your upcoming projects. We Put the World to Sleep and Dr. Frankenstein. You're sort of semi-connected to Be My Cat trilogy. So you're currently editing We Put the World to Sleep now, right?
Yes.
What can you tell me about that movie? What's that one about?
Well, We Put the World to Sleep. We Put the World to Sleep is deals with two lovers who make a movie. Practically, there is a couple that makes a movie about a couple that ends the world. And they also act in that movie. And while acting, while playing those roles about people who plan to end the world, they become lost in their characters, and then they decide to stop shooting their movie and actually use the movie's budget and everything in order to end the world for real. While using the research and on the movie as a justification for them researching real methods of ending the world, like weapons of mass destruction and stuff like that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And then you're currently editing that, so once that editing is done, and are you just gonna try the festival route and see where that goes with a digital release, or do you not even have that far ahead what your plan will be yet?
Well, first step is festivals. I mean, it is essential for feature films. It is absolutely essential that they have the world premiere in a very big festival. Festivals are everything. There are so many movies being made out there, and the only way to, as an indie guy, to become known and do something is through festivals. So that's everything. In order to be picked up by a good distributor, in order to have publicity, everything has to do with a big festival. That's something that kind of I only half achieved with Be My Cat, because the Be My Cat had the premiere in a very important festival, which was Fantasporto actually in Portugal. That one is actually one of the top horror and fantasy film festivals, but it's not like literally one of the top 10 like Cannes, Sundance, and I don't know, Tribeca, South by Southwest, Berlin, and stuff like that.
Right.
And those top 10 are so essential. Or for genre films, then they're essentially Sitges, Fantastic Fest, and Fantasia Film Festival. These three are extremely powerful, and I really hope I get either in one of those top 10 general festivals or in these three genre festivals selected with it. That's my hope.
Yep. Well, fingers crossed. I mean, just looking at Be My Cat, you're a very talented filmmaker, and I'm very eager to see what happens with anything that you have your name attached to coming down the road.
Oh, thank you, and hopefully.
Fingers crossed.
Hopefully, I was about to say hopefully I won't disappoint you, but actually just before I said that you will be disappointed, so I don't know what to say. Maybe
throw all expectation out the window. We'll just see what happens.
Throw all expectation. Yeah.
So if anyone who hasn't seen Be My Cat and wants to check it out after hearing our discussion on it, if you want to go out and watch it, you can. It looks like you can rent it on Amazon Prime. You can rent it on Vudu, or you can watch it for free on Tubi with advertisements dispersed in between. So definitely check it out. I think it's an amazing found footage horror movie. Definitely very unique among all of the different found footage movies that are out there today. You won't be disappointed with your experience, and definitely keep an eye out for the eventual release of We Put the World to Sleep and Dr. Frankenstein.
Thank you, and yeah, and